Good evening and many thanks for joining us. I'm Ansmane Sonyasi and this is QTV News coming to you live from our studios on Caraba Avenue. Here are the main news headlines. The Gambia Road Safety Action Plan 2021-2030 was launched on Friday by the Ministry of Transport in collaboration with the Economic Commission for Africa. The World Bank Country Office in the Gambia held its annual dissemination forum on Tuesday for stakeholders on the state of Gambia's economy. The National Population Commission Secretariat held its annual dissemination forum on Tuesday. I beg your pardon, I take that again. The National Population Commission Secretariat and partners held a forum on the draft national report of the 10-year review of the Addis Ababa Declaration on Population and Development. And in international news, Gambian Mrs. Kinza Jawaranjai presented her letters of credence to the UN Secretary General on Wednesday as the new permanent representative of the ECOWAS region to the United Nations in New York. And in sports news, a Gambian former wrestler is now an Italian MMA middleweight champion in the 84 kilograms after winning 3 fights last week. Stay tuned as we bring you more of these and other stories. And we now take a look at the news in detail. The Gambia Road Safety Action Plan 2021-2023 was launched on Friday by the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure in collaboration with the Economic Commission for Africa. The plan aims to reduce road fatalities by 50%. William Kamara has more.
Establishing a road safety plan is important in achieving road safety goals and targets, according to the Minister of Transport, Works and Infrastructure, Ibrahim Asilla, and the recommendations aims to reduce road deaths and injuries by 2030.
The launching of this plan, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, is in response to the global call to address road traffic deaths and injuries. It is worth noting that our outcomes, performances, and deliverable targets set out in this road safety strategy are fully aligned with the United Nations voluntary road safety targets.
The World Road Traffic Accident Index, which measures global road traffic accidents, ranked the Gambia in 8th place in 2022 in the list of countries with the worst record of accidents, according to Louis Moses Mendy, Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Transport, Works and Infrastructure. This calls for concerted efforts to mitigate accidents on our roads.
I'm sure most of us fear some illnesses and diseases, such as malaria, among others. But we often forget that one of the greatest killers is not any of those diseases, but rather road accidents.
Issa Drame, Director of Transport at the Ministry of Transport, gave a presentation about the road safety in the Gambia.
From 2011 to 2021, 121 people died annually. And during the period also, 821 road accidents or crashes occur annually. And over the same period, 2,731 sustained serious injuries. The situation seems to be worsening in the 2021, which is above the average of 121. A total of 1,218 accidents occurred in 2021. 155 people died, and 440 people sustained serious injuries.
Officials believe that strong collaboration from all sectors regarding road safety is key. Omar Sise is the president of the General Transport Union.
We have traffic codes, we have traffic regulation. Follow that guidelines. If you can follow that guideline, I hope so. It's got a very minimal to involve accident. But most of the accident in this country here is caused by overspeeding. It's against the traffic rules. So I think we need to change our attitudes. Particular drivers, let's try to be relaxed, maintain our vehicle up to standard. Let's follow the traffic route.
Seinabu Huma, Principal Policy Officer at the Ministry of Transport, delivered the vote of thanks. Now that the plan is well formulated and ready to be implemented, it is hoped that all the recommendations will be enforced to help reduce road accidents in the Gambia. For QTV News, Slowly M. Kamara.
And I beg your pardon, the National Road Safety Action Plan is for 2021-2030 and not 2021-2003 as I announced earlier. Now, the World Bank Country Office in the Gambia held its annual dissemination forum on Tuesday for stakeholders on the state of the Gambia's economy, which focuses on financial inclusion in the Gambia, among other things. Aliou Cissé tells us more.
The economic update presents an assessment of recent economic developments in the Gambia to inform the Gambian government and stakeholders about the state of the economy and promote dialogue and policy options to address development challenges facing the country, and to accelerate progress on eliminating extreme poverty and promoting shared prosperity. This edition focuses on driving financial inclusion in the Gambia, constraints and opportunities of digitization. Faye Borofais, World Bank resident representative, Daniel Marota, lead economist, World Bank, and CDM Keita, Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, respectively, said the topic is relevant considering the low level of financial inclusion, while access to finance has been recognized as a key enabler for growth, employment, and poverty reduction.
Increased financial inclusion facilitates day-to-day living and helps families and enterprises make long-term plans and manage unexpected emergencies.
The objectives of the series are twofold: to strengthen the analytic underpinnings of development policy and to contribute to an informed debate on policy options to enhance macroeconomic management, accelerate progress towards eliminating extreme poverty and promote shared prosperity. These are the World Bank Group twin goals, goals that are all the more relevant in a context of state fragility.
The economy has still registered positive growth despite all these global challenges. And I think that shows the resilience. It could have been worse were it not for the support and the resilience of the economic system.
According to the latest update, about 69% of adults in the Gambia do not have access to a transaction account. And among the youth, 77% do not have a transaction account, while the same is true for 75% of people living in rural areas. This is because of the high cost of financial services and the long distances to financial access points, among other factors. Mohamed B.S. Jallo, the Gambia's Vice President, recognized financial inclusion as a key pillar in achieving the country's development aspirations.
Today, as an outcome of this workshop, we are expecting a roadmap and action plan to implement the remedial policy reforms and implement interventions to improve human development outcomes in the country. As a result, please be assured of the government of the Gambia's willingness to implement actionable recommendations to address constraints to the advancement of digitization in the Gambia, to leverage the opportunities of digitization and to boost financial inclusion as a key enabler for growth, employment, and poverty reduction.
Stakeholders at this forum believe having a transaction account is one major step towards broader financial inclusion, as it allows people to save their money and send and receive payments. The lack of this has also lowered the use of digital payments. Participants were informed that the country's GDP is projected to grow by 5.5% in 2023 to 2025, below the pre-pandemic level of 6.2% in 2019, reflecting the lingering effects of overlapping crises. The event was moderated by Hadija Jawara, External Affairs Officer, World Bank. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cissé.
The National Population Commission Secretariat, in collaboration with the UNFPA and other partners, held a forum on Thursday on the draft national report of the 10-year review of the Addis Ababa Declaration on Population and Development. Loliam Kamara tells us more.
The Addis Ababa Declaration on Population and Development in Africa beyond 2014 was adopted by African ministries at the African Regional Conference on Population and Development, held in Addis Ababa in October 2013, and endorsed by African heads of states and government at the African Union Executive Council in 2014. Mariama Fane, the Director of Population Affairs at the National Population Commission Secretariat, NPCS, states that Nations aim to assess the progress and challenges hindering the implementation of the commitments contained in the declaration and identify best practices.
80% of the commitments are contained in the SGD 30. These are also linked to the African Union Agenda 2063. Ladies and gentlemen, in ensuring that we honor the commitments that are contained in the Addis Ababa Declaration as a country, we're not only working towards achieving or meeting our commitments, but we're also working on ensuring that we achieve economic growth and also economic development.
Lamin Kamara, the assistant UNFPA country rep, said the UNFPA have supported the government in its initiative to prepare a national report for submission to the 57th session of the UN Commission on Population and Development in 2024 as Africa's contribution to the review and appraisals of the implementation of the International Conference on Population and Development Program of Action, ICPD Plus 30.
Specifically, the National Population Commission Secretariat had reached out to us to support in the hiring of a consultant for generating a comprehensive report. And like the director has rightly stated, we are looking at 6 very strong pillars of the AADPD plus 10, which is dignity and equality, health, place and mobility, governance, data and statistics, partnership and international cooperation.
Sekou J.K. Tarawale, the Deputy Permanent Secretary Technical at the Office of the Vice President, emphasizes the importance of the document, which is crucial for tracking progress in the attainment of ICPA, SDG 2030, and the Africa Agenda 2063. Mr. Tarawale added that the declaration sets out a visionary roadmap that recognizes the central role of population and development in shaping our future.
While we celebrate the successes achieved, we must acknowledge the persistent disparities that continue to hinder the realization of our shared aspiration, from population dynamics to climate change and technological advancement to economic inequalities.
The declaration comprises 88 priority commitments, which are also grouped around 6 interrelated pillars, each of which addresses a key area of population and development in Africa. It is hoped that the recommendations from the meeting help pave the way for transformative change and further create more partnerships to address the interconnected challenges the country faces. For QTV News, Lolly M. Kamara.
And that report there by Lolly M. Kamara will lead us to the commercial break, but the news continues when we return.
dañuy wecc xar xanam dafa wara wuté ak li nga daan gis daxin pire puy paj lay doon QTV du ay fodé Tabaski style 2023 bi dafay todde xolal ma model si ak ni ñu koy tempé ñew kat yi gëna xarañ ci réew mi lañu andal ñu fasé ni indi ay style yu ngeen mësul a gis ren ji lépp day wuté li tax moy Cheikh Fall day ñew dal di tangal bërepp bi wa groupe Daaray Lamp Fall yéena gëna xam Cheikh Fall ci ambiance way ku ci top borom bëm kan la xana attaque wa li kañ la xana ondi nen tool fele ci Q City juroom ñaari waxtu lay tambali jëm ci kaw waye di len fatali ticket yi mu ngeen ko amé ci bepp Q Cell customer care Carava Avenue turntable Bruce bi ticket $400 VIP $700 mun ngeen a call ci number bi 3444444 2023 bi dafa nara ci kess de ñew kat yi dañoo ñew pire model si dañoo model pire QTV day jommale QTV 2023 du yomba de sponsored by Nido.
Inco Home Choice. Home Choice. Bagage bu baax mooy def liggéey bu baax te wóor te soo ko jëndee dina la yóbbu ci diir bu yàgg te du gaaw a yàqu. Inco Home Choice ñoo leen indil bépp xeetu bagage yi judduwaay yi ngeen mën a jëfandikoo ci seeni métier yi.
waaw ñun Inco fii leen day jëndee suñu bagage yi Inco lañ yombalee bagage yi dañ baax qualité bagage lañ lay jaay moo tax ñun liggéey bu ñoo def electrical plumbing boo ji in ko fii leen lay ñëw Brikama moom ñu jënd suñu bagage ñu bàyyi ko ba ci Toustan Serekunda fii waaye fii leen lay ñëwee bagage dina bagage lu waral loolu in ko dañ jombalee bagage number 1 number 2 seen bagage yi dañ over baax dañ over quality
bagage yu si mel ni power tools accessories bench tools generator yu baax welding machines ak small construction equipments muy bagage yu baax yi ngeen mën a jëfandikoo bu ngeen ay samp ay kër
parce que inko mo fene la bagage so quality sa garantie bi la bagage so bagage nya san nimi sa tije mi ta fengo min na inko ma so to janga man gambia janga man so folo den nga ñew ma koy akole la nya wo ñandi mbe nga wuli nga na inko nga bagage so san
seet si leen ñu si suñu maakaan yi nekk ci biir réew mi foofa sa Jinpex Kanifing Sukuta Jabang traffic light ak Brikama opposite Joko night club wala ngeen call ñu ci 532 5773 wala 341 7619 wala 739 8863 wala 303 9300 wala nga email ñu incogambia@gmail.com ak Inco Home Choice jafe-jafe ci wàllu bagage yi ngeen di jëfandikoo ci seen métier yi jeex na. Inco Home Choice. Inco Home Choice.
Welcome back from that commercial break. You're reminded you're following QTV News, coming to you live from our studios on Kairaba Avenue. Now, the Edward Francis Moore Teaching Hospital, in partnership with the Swedish African Neurosurgery Collaboration, updated the media on Friday about the ongoing week-long free operations for patients with surgical conditions relating to the brain and spine at the Ndeban Health Center in Bakau. Lena Igwenyiba has the rest of that story.
The press conference organized by AFSTH and its Swedish partner SANK was called to inform the public about the successes registered during the ongoing week-long free operations at the Ndemban Healthcare Center, a subsidiary of AFSTH. Dr. John N. Jabang, Senior Consultant Neurosurgeon and Head of the Department of Surgery at AFSTH, explains that SANK is the first neurosurgery mission to provide the hospital with 3 operating microscopes.
This is the first time we are having in the Gambia a mission that come with all the team complete, having a biomed engineer. The biomed engineer has fixed 2 of our C-arms that were faulty, and they are fixing so many things. And the nurses are engaged in training. Before they arrived, there was an online training of all our nurses, 2 sessions, and when they arrived, there was an on-site training. And now we are doing very, very complex cases.
To resolve the unmet need for neurosurgery in sub-Saharan Africa, SANK carried out several trips to hospitals in West Africa to create networks and evaluate suitable partners. Professor Enoch Ogbanaya Uche, African representative and board member of SANK, highlights what their highly trained health professionals have achieved in the Gambia.
This is the biggest mission that SANK has had so far in terms of the personnel. And you could see that in a space of 1 week, in fact 4 days, we have done 10 cases, major cases, that people would have had to fly out of the country to go and do. You now have everything that you need within the nation of the Gambia for all facets, all types, and all kinds of neurosurgical treatment. And that is what SANK has done in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Liberia, and now in the Gambia.
Jimmy Sonblum is the SANK team leader.
We see a lot of cases. For the first time in a mission, we have been doing outpatients clinic, meeting all the patients who need help. And of course, it's easy to realize that there are a lot of people who need help with their issues. And we are only here for 2 weeks, but Dr. Jabang is here, and with the materials and with the skills he have, I'm very confident that the Gambian people will continue to receive top-class, even world-class neurosurgical care for a lot of diagnoses.
Dr. Amma Al-Jafari, the Chief Medical Director of AFSTH, applauded SANK for a great project and expressed appreciation to the country's health ministry.
The health sector is improving because of your support. When we have guests like you and team want to help, we are very happy and grateful. We need to thank Minister of Health for his support, of course. We cannot do any achievement without his support. And I want to inform the Gambian that, as I say, we are in the right direction, health sector improving.
The Swedish-African Neurosurgery Collaboration SANC aims to achieve long-term interprofessional solutions in neurosurgery, neuroscience, nursing and related activities to create positive side effects for other local activities and strengthen healthcare in the targeted regions. Reporting for QTV News, I am Lena E. Gwenyeba.
And now on to international news in a moment. Gambian Mrs. Kinza Jawaranjai presented her letters of credence to the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday as the new permanent representative of the ECOWAS region to the United Nations in New York. As LUCC reports, again, the two discussed the issue of governance and security challenges in West Africa and the Sahel, as well as the need for stronger cooperation.
Mrs. Kinza Jawaranjai is a Gambian national with over 32 years of experience in public administration, diplomacy, and international development. She holds a master's degree in international political economy from the University of Warwick in the United Kingdom and is a former permanent secretary at the Office of the President of the Gambia. She has served in various capacities, including foreign policy advisor, political affairs officer, and economic development cooperation officer in the Gambia's foreign ministry and Office of the President, rising steadily through the ranks within the Gambia's public service. She has been with the ECOWAS Commission since 2018. She served as Principal Program Officer and Head of Division in the Directorate of Free Movement and Migration, heading the ECOWAS Cross-Border Cooperation Program, which works to strengthen cooperation and regional integration from below, promoting peace and security, sustainable livelihoods, and management of migration and development. Prior to joining ECOWAS, Mrs. Jawaranjai served as international consultant for UNDP UNIFEM in the Ministry of Gender and Social Affairs in the Office of the Prime Minister of Rwanda, providing support to strategic planning actions mainstreaming gender in Rwanda's National Economic Development and Poverty Reduction Strategy, EDPRS2. Mrs. Jawaranjai has worked extensively with international development partners in development cooperation and partnership, building at local, national, and regional levels, and is keenly interested in promotion of regional peace and security, migration and development, facilitating gender and youth empowerment programs for sustainable livelihoods, as well as establishing regional public goods in Africa and strengthening good governance and regional integration. Mrs. Jawaranjai comes to the Permanent Observer Mission to the United Nations with wide experience in public administration, diplomacy, and international development cooperation. Reporting for QTV News, I am Aliou Cisse.
Well, we're wishing her all the best as she takes up her new position as ECOWAS representative at the UN. And now on to some exciting sports news. A Gambian former wrestler is now the Italian mixed martial arts middleweight champion in the 84 kilograms after winning 3 fights last week. Well known by his fighting name, Kevin Kunta, he spoke to our sports reporter, Moody Kajaga. Here's the report.
In his search for greener pastures in Europe, through the Mediterranean Sea, locally called the Parkway, to becoming a champion in the 84-kilogram category in the middleweight MMA division in Italy, Abdulkadir Sow, known by his fighting name Kevin Kunta, is now a mixed martial arts MMA champion. He recounts how he transitioned from a wrestler in Barra to his current status.
2015, like every youth do, you know, and then I just heard about Bagway and everything. So I just get to it. I took the Bagway like every youth do. So that's what I do. I took it that was in 2015. So I crossed from Senegal, Mali, Burkina, Niger, Libya, and I get to Italy. I get to Italy in 2014. I leave Gambia. 2015, May on the 5th, I get to Italy.
Kevin Kunta eventually emerged champion in the 84-kilogram category after winning 3 fights in 3 days. With his build and height, the wrestler-turned-MMA fighter looks like he could be a formidable opponent. His recent exploits have now resulted in his inclusion in the Italian national team.
So it was like 3 days competition. So it's like every club in Italy, they all select their own fighters and they brought them. So it was like a tournament. For me to get to finals, I fight like 3 fights for me to get to finals. So it was on Friday, Saturday, up to Sunday. It was very hard. It was very tough because of there are like all these other fighters also want to be the Italian champion of like 2023 and want to be in the national team. So it was not something like very easy, but thank God, unfortunately, I made it to be the champion of Italy.
Despite representing Italy at international competitions, Kevin says he is still a proud Gambian.
My heart is always back home in Gambia. Like, even though I'm competing for Italy, but like always, like what I represent myself is Gambia, and always go with the flag of the Gambia because I'm proud to be Gambian, and whatever it's come, I'm gonna be always Gambia.
Kevin is gradually becoming a top MMA fighter in his division after winning several competitions in Italy, France, and other international competitions. His story has proven that sports can change lives. Mamadou Gajaga, QTV News.
Well, congratulations, Kevin. And guess what? Gambia is proud of your achievements too. And I'm afraid that's all about it. But before we take a leave of you, here's a recap from main headlines. The Gambia Road Safety Action Plan 2021-2030 was launched on Friday by the Ministry of Transport in collaboration with the Economic Commission for Africa. The World Bank Country Office in the Gambia held its annual dissemination forum on Tuesday for stakeholders on the state of the Gambia's economy. The National Population Commission Secretariat and partners held a forum on the draft national report of the 10th year review of the Addis Ababa Declaration and the population and development rather. In international news, Gambian Mrs. Kinza Jawaranjai presented her letters of credence to the UN Secretary General on Wednesday as the new permanent representative of the ECOWAS region to the United Nations in New York. And in sports news, a Gambian former wrestler is now the Italian MMA middleweight champion in the 84 kilogram after winning 3 fights last week. That's it for this edition of the news. Thanks for watching. On behalf of the entire production team, have a good night.